Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In this video, we discuss the crisis going forward into Game Week 28 and beyond, our transfer plans, bus teams, and who does the Fantasy Football Hub AI recommend we bring in this week. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka! That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello, welcome to our Game Week 28 preview with me, Matt, aka the FPL Affairs veteran, and as always, the FPL Affairs master, Jack, who is currently in the, where are you, 89k-ish?
Yeah,
roughly.
ish.
Yeah. For the world.
Semi-masterful.
Yeah, one thing actually which I've found out, which I didn't mention last week, in yesterday's Game Week 26 and 27 review, the assistant manager chip, Kieran, that's leading the admin league for FPL Affairs Facebook group, he played his assistant manager chip, and he did the Moyes to Emery to Glasner rotator, so he's done a massive jump at the top of that league. But again, now it's sort of jumping around when people play different chips in different weeks. So yeah, that was that. And point of this video really just to look at our transfer plans and so on. So what I thought was quite apt, really, we are very much in a crisis going forward, to be honest, which I felt was quite apt since Isak is question mark availability, Mateta's been ruled out, and Cunha's been ruled out, and I had to include the referee showing the red card. I just had to do that rather than actually see him making head contact with Carquez. But yeah, so with those players in mind, what are your transfer plans as it stands, Jack, with your ins and outs? And if I recall, you said you are free hitting in Game Week 29, so that's presumably affecting your choices this week.
Yeah, the initial plan for those who watched our last video was to go to Mateta for the Ipswich game, because like we said, those free hitting in 29 would have basically had a very low owned striker with Ipswich at home, because nobody or very few people would be bringing them in if they were not free hitting in 29. So that scuppered my plans. Lewis Hall to Munoz is already done. Jack made an early transfer. So Hall to Munoz was done at lunchtime today. Today's Wednesday.
Early transfer, that never
happened.
Yeah. You're normally 5 minutes before the deadline.
Yeah, normally that's normally early for me as well. 5 minutes. So that's been done because that's just a mess, and it's a doubler and 32 for another doubler and 32. I had the exact money to do it, hence why I went. I knew I'll be absolutely staggered if Hall doesn't drop in price this evening and Munoz doesn't go up. So I just made it because I'll be priced out of it tomorrow and I'll be fuming. I don't particularly want Ait-Nouri. I don't think he's consistent enough. I think Crystal Palace are a good team in good form. He's got a double in 32.
Mm.
I just did Munoz.
Yeah.
However, there are other issues within my team that
which
we'll
you can
talk about
talk.
in the next page.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah, Hall to Munoz has been done. So that's my free transfer done.
yeah. But before we look at the bus teams in particular, I mean, like I've got the same issue with Hull as you, but I've already got Munoz in, and yeah, so I can't do an easy switch to him. So it's really about looking at the defenders that have got the best fixtures in 29 and 30 probably, because despite the recent changes, I think I'm possibly still planning on wild carding in 31, which will go nearer the time. But
Yeah, I think if you're free hitting in 29, you bring in Munoz if you don't already own him.
Yeah.
And or you bring in, like you do Hall to Livramento, for example, and just change Newcastle defenders. And if you are not free hitting in 29, then somebody like Ait Nouri is probably your best bet because he's
Yeah,
got good fixtures for the next 4.
yeah. I think really the Hall situation has solved one of my problems really, because my main problem, which we'll look at my team in a moment, really was which game week 29 blankers I was going to keep and bench, Salah and Isak, because I've got the most value in them. So they took 2, and it was mostly really split between Munoz and Hall. So that's decided now. There's 2 Munoz holding the 3rd spot on the bench rather than take him out and bring him back in again. So I think my plans before the FA Cup events had happened was, as I said when we spoke about the FA Cup at the end of our review, was Wissa Cunha, but I don't need to make that now. So I think I'm in a good place for number of transfers and number of changes I need to make for next week. So we'll go on to that in a moment, but we'll look at your bus team first. And this screenshot was taken yesterday before the Hall confirmation that he was out for the season. So your recommended transfer might be different. I'll have to check that on my phone. Read through what's showing up as your AI lineup for game week 28.
So, Flecken in goal, Trent, Gabriel, and Robinson back 3, Salah captain, Palmer, Sarr, Dango in midfield, and Isak, Watkins, and Gakpo up front with Neto, Mikolenko, and Hall on the bench. That is my bus team. Obviously, Hall has already been changed to Munoz, who will go straight in for Robinson. I almost bet. No, because of the blank in 29, I wonder if that's my AI recommended transfer. The annoyance about my team, and going back to the first slide of the forward dilemmas, is that I don't think Isak's going to play West Ham away. He might. I might be wrong, and you can correct me if I am, because you're the Newcastle fan here. But I've got a feeling he doesn't play, or at least doesn't start. Gakpo's out of tonight's Champions League squad with a reoccurring niggle, so he's out. And Dango,
that he's out, or could he just be?
Yeah, well, I don't
League?
know. I don't know. I won't make. Obviously, I don't know. From what I've read, there's a chance that he's had that injury flare back, that same injury flare back up again, which is why he's not in the squad. Either way, if he's not travelled, is it away? either way, if he's not in the squad on Wednesday, he's very highly unlikely to start on Saturday or whenever it is. So that's worrying. And Dango, who I'm sure you know and are thinking as well, is a doubt to start because Evan Nilsson's now back fit. So I've got 1, 2, including Hall. I've got 4 players that are unlikely to start. Not a problem with Dango because Neto comes in anyway. I brought Neto in last week with this week in mind as well. So Neto starts over Dango regardless. My other concern is that Trent doesn't start either and that they play Kwanzaa at right back because Trent's played tonight. There is also another PSG game and a cup final to come after the Southampton game. Being 13 points clear of the table, part of me feels like he'll field a weakened team against Southampton. It genuinely would not surprise me either if Salah didn't start. It really wouldn't. If they've got a cup final next week, they've got PSG in the Champions League. I don't know what it finished in Liverpool PSG, do you?
No, but I can check on my phone right now if you keep talking.
It was 0-0 at half time. So if it was and it was in Paris. So if it was 0-0 at half time, let's just assume it was a tight game and it was a draw.
Interesting.
Then go on, what was it?
87th minute, only goal of the game. Harvey Elliott.
1-1-0.
Liverpool won 1-0 in Paris.
In Paris, right, okay. So that's still not a big enough lead though, is it? They'll obviously feel like they can do it. They won't lose at Anfield. But that's what I mean. Looking at that Southampton game, 13 points clear of the table with a cup final and a PSG Champions League second leg at home with only a 1-goal advantage, that doesn't scream Trent, Salah and Gakpo starting against Southampton, which was always the risk when I held them.
Well, looking at I've put up because I'm looking at the Sky Sports app and looking at the lineups for it and changes and so on. Salah was replaced in the 86th minute by Harvey Elliott, so he was on the pitch for a minute max.
Yeah, so I think Harvey Elliott starts over Salah this weekend. I think Darwin Núñez starts, and I think probably it wouldn't even surprise me if Chiesa starts if he's fit. I just think they're going to play a second team with like Kelleher, Konza, Tsimikas, probably Van Dijk to be fair, and somebody else, and then just weak everywhere. Weak everywhere, I think he'll go. They're 13 points clear. There's no need to field their strongest side against Southampton because we're rubbish. And it's at Anfield. I almost feel like they'll treat it like an early round of the cup.
What does look interesting? Is Diaz and Jota were substituted on 67 minutes.
Yeah,
So
I think Jota will probably
that
start.
looks to me, for it to be that early in a way, it looks to me that they are going to that they'll start against Southampton, and then they'll probably be taken off early if they've got a reasonable lead in the game.
I don't think that needs to be an if. I don't think. I appreciate you saying if, but I don't think it needs to be an if. I think it's okay to say when. But yeah, I think if being you and being a Diaz owner, I'd be really pleased seeing that. But yeah, I'm probably going to take a hit.
So
I'm probably going to take a hit.
Did you just have one free transfer and you've done?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And in hindsight, it probably wasn't the most important transfer this week, but I've been eyeing up a hit anyway. And I think in a week where everybody's died a bit of a death with Mateta and Cunha and Gordon and Hall and everything else, I think there's going to be hits flying everywhere. So I almost feel like I can get away with it a bit this week.
That's
Um,
where I'm kind of hoping to gain, which we'll
yeah,
go through in a moment after you've
yeah,
finished yours. Do you want to have
yeah.
a guess at your recommended transfer? And this was
Well,
done before the Hall news.
yeah, well, it probably would be Hall out
I'd say it would
for.
be now.
Oh, was this before the Hall news?
This was before the Hall news, although I could give an
Okay.
updated one from the image after we've done it. To be fair,
Well, they normally try and get you to transfer out your lowest thing player, but because I've got players that are blanking, I don't know. I'm genuinely don't know. If I had to guess and just take a punt, I would say Watkins to Chris Wood because Chris Wood's playing next week and Watkins isn't.
okay. Final answer.
Final answer.
And I've just got up on my phone what the updated recommended is. But the recommended one, on the news on my phone. But you're right with the recommended signing being Chris Wood, but wrong forward.
Gakpo. Yeah, wrong one, blanking. If he
Yeah,
was fit, it would be really weird for FPL Hub to ask me to transfer out Gakpo before Southampton. Well, they must know something I don't, because there's no way I would sell Gakpo before Southampton, not in a million years. But based on free hit 29, that won't be happening. For those that are wondering what my hit was, it will probably be Gakpo to Evan Nilsson. And
you'd
anybody
be doubling
that,
up
yeah,
with Dango.
no, because it wouldn't be a double up, because I don't think Dango starts. Part of me feels like he will. I think that what they should do is rather than play Brooks out on the right, they should
Yeah.
play Dango, Semenyo, and
Mm,
Cliver behind Evan Nilsson. That's what I think they should do.
mm,
But again, is there any point? Because as far as I'm concerned, Dango's done enough to keep his place.
yeah,
He's been quite good. And obviously he's played up front and that's fine. You're not
yeah.
moving Cliver
So
out the 10, but Semenyo can play on the right hand side. And so
yeah,
Dango could go play left, and that would be a hell of a front four. But I just
yeah.
maybe obviously watching
Do you,
Brooks at Southampton maybe he gives them something different.
they actually suggested you take a hit following the recent news. Would you like to hear what it is?
Yes, please.
So the other transfer that has shown up now is Hall
I
out.
guess.
Yeah. Um, but it's not Munoz. It's recommended to come in.
No,
Unsurprising.
but it's eight Nuri.
Correct.
Yeah. So like I said in our last video, if you're free hitting 29, do Hall to Munoz, and if you're not, do Hall to 8 Nuri.
Mm,
I think it's that simple.
yeah. So should we look at my bus team
Yeah, yeah.
for it? Right. So reading it out: Pickford in goal. Back three of Munoz, Gabriel, and Williams. At home to City. Captain Salah, Rice Palmer, Luis Diaz, and Mbamo, finishing off the midfield with Isak, Wissa, and Wood up front. On the bench, it's got Dango, Robinson, and Hall. So
Same bench.
to be fair is what I would have chosen anyway. So I agree with the AI layout for that. And I've got two free transfers going into this, which I suspect I'll do. Hall will be one of them. The other I will probably roll going into game week 29 and then assess the situation then.
Mm-hmm.
Because looking at the teams I've got, Pickford's playing. Munoz I'll probably bench. Gabriel I'll play. Williams I'll play. Salah I'll bench. Palmer I'll play. Diaz I'll probably sell.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to really if I'm benching Isak, Salah, and Munoz. Diaz I'll sell. So I'm not selling Diaz this week, so that would definitely be a sell next week. Hall, I may as well do this week, so it will be a matter of who for, and if I bench that player, then I bench that player this week. I'd still have a free transfer, so going into that, so I think it's a matter of Hall and who it will be, really. And to be honest, the others, it'll probably be Diaz next week.
And maybe Dango if he's lost his space, I guess.
Yeah, and that would in a way be a luxury transfer because I'd already have 11 players playing. So yeah, I think it will be Hall in advance of this weekend. Hold off for next weekend, and then
Any ideas who for?
what, Diaz or Hall?
No, Hall. Well, yeah, or both. Hall first.
Well, I looked at, to be fair, before all of that news, I'd looked at Aït-Nouri and Kirkez, but then what's veering me away from Kirkez really is because I've got Wissa and Mbeumo, and if I'm now keeping Wissa,
Yeah.
I don't especially want a double Brentford attack against a Bournemouth defender. I'd rather hope for a high-scoring game, which means potentially it could be Diaz to Kluivert. I think, yes, that's template, but if I'm not free hitting as close to template using just free transfers can hopefully gain me a bit of rank because I would not be taking hits on transfers. And also by being quite template, I shouldn't drop too much rank, if at all. And then as I'm wildcarding in game week 31, probably I'll show a bit more variety from the template then.
Yeah, when I looked at my team, similar to you, is I've got double Chelsea midfield playing against Gabriel. I had who are the other ones? Basically, I just had players playing each other everywhere.
Yeah,
So I could technically, if I take a hit this week and next week, i.e. if I do Gakpo to Evan Nilsson, and then next week I take Trent out and Watkins, then I could end up basically with 10 players playing, which is fine because last year in game week 29 I played with 10 and got a massive green arrow. But the problem I've got is they're pretty much all playing each other. So that was it. If Flecken's got Bournemouth, so I would have Dango and Evan Nilsson against Flecken. I'd have Palmer and Neto against Gabriel, and then so it would just be a mess. So I've sort of committed to it. I'm just gonna have to stick to it. And the reason why I sold Chris Wood was because the only fixture I particularly wanted him for was the game week 29 fixture. So I could just free hit him back in. So I thought I'd just free hit him back in. And to be fair, I haven't been severely punished by it. I didn't move for the Brentford players because I knew their fixtures were going to turn after, technically now, really. And I got away with it up until that big green arrow that you had in 26, where they both banged, and they both had a good week last week as well. So I've sort of been semi-punished by that, but it could have been a whole lot worse because they had two good fixtures a couple of weeks before that as well, I think, in 24 and 25, and I think they both blanked or got very low returns, so I got away with it. But I think to answer sort of like everybody's pressing question with regards to what to do with forwards, I think Evan Nilsson is the standout for me from a forward perspective. If you've got Anthony Gordon, I don't mind a Forest punt, to be honest. Whether that be Gibbs
Yeah,
White or a Langer, I think that might be what you're thinking of doing, maybe with Luis
yeah,
Diaz. But I quite like that. I
it
quite
is.
like that fixture next week, and
It,
City at home is not a tough fixture for them really.
mm,
And obviously
yeah,
Lewis Hall to either Munoz or Ait Nouri, depending on whether you're free hitting or not,
yeah.
would sort of
It
be
was
my general advice.
again. Well, not again, but briefly going back to Diaz. The main two or three names on my shortlist are Clivert, if I'm going template, or Gibbs White slash Alanga at Forest.
Mm.
That's sort of my mini shortlist because I'm looking at the game week 29, game week 30 fixture, and whichever teams have got those best fixtures, picking the players from them. So that's kind of where I'm targeting and where I'm lucky at the moment, lucky-ish. I haven't got any City players, so I wouldn't have any City playing against Williams, although you'd say it's unlikely that Forest keep a clean sheet. But you don't see City scoring many.
Well, that's the
Gabriel,
other thing. Like if you've got Hall on your bench and you're quite happy to play Robinson and Williams, for example, Hall to like what's his name, Milenkovic, or a Forest defender with next week in mind isn't a bad move either. If you're just happy to bring him in and bench him this week,
mm,
that's not a bad move. Obviously, you've already got Nico Williams, but if you didn't have Nico Williams, Hall to Nico Williams would be a relatively easy move this week. Obviously, saving money as well. Um, so
yeah,
yeah,
I've got, I've got 2.2 million in the bank, really. So
mm.
if Foden had been on form, for example, I could have done Diaz up to Foden. But yeah, it is what it is. So I think I'll most probably do Hall for somebody. I imagine that AI will have updated itself to say that as my transfer. I would guess. I haven't seen the latest one. I know obviously what's on the next slide. What do you think would be the recommended transfer for my bus
was
team?
this pre Lewis Hall?
This is pre Lewis Hall news.
Well, based on the fact that they asked me to transfer out Gakpo, I expect they probably asked you to transfer out Diaz. Who for?
Final answer.
Yeah, I reckon Diaz and Sarr.
That would be you. I haven't got Sar.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Your recommended transfer. No, he's blanking next week, isn't he?
Yeah.
Uh, who's what are the fixtures next week? The fixtures next week are. I reckon that they recommended that you Diaz out for Diver.
Well, it had me down as recommended making no transfers going into game week 28. But I suspect that's probably changed with the Hall news. So I suspect it'll probably have Hall to, well, was it
Yeah,
recommended 8
I
Nuri for
expect.
you? I reckon it would say Hall to 8 Nuri and to roll and
Yeah,
the other transfer to roll.
I expect that's pretty much a blanket move across everybody's teams.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And if your teams are similar, please like our preview. If you disagree with any of our opinions, please then express your opinions in the comments wherever is most convenient for you, whether that be FPL Affairs at X, the Facebook group Fantasy Premier League FPL 1 might be the official link, but if you search FPL Affairs, that should come up to take you there. YouTube channel at FPL Affairs. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the videos there. We've got a chip strategy guide, the Idiot's Guide to that, which is still relevant. Some of it will be that we plan on updating soon when there's more exact info for game week 33 and 34. Really, we'll update the strategies.
We'll
Then
do a free hit guide next week as well, and we'll do sort of like a wild card guide after 30 for when you're doing yours.
Yeah. So, yeah. Please like and subscribe. And Jack, your final thought?
Same as the last video. If you are free hitting in 29, attack, and if you're not, roll.
Okay, point taken. So, all that's left to say is, if you're brave, let us know your plans. If not, keep your FPL affairs under wraps, and we shall be back soon after you've plastered them all over social media.
Do that.
And mine
Thank you for
included.
watching.
Thank you for watching. Bye bye.